For ACUSports.com, I'm Grant Boone with women's head basketball coach Julie Goodenough, head coach of the Southland Conference co-champion Wildcats. Second straight year, coach. Winning it is great, but anytime you have to defend, it's that much tougher, isn't it?
Gosh, it has been a really tough year. I think we surprised some people last season. We were not picked to finish even in the top half last year, and kind of came out of nowhere, won the championship. This year, we're picked to win the league, and I mean, it was really tough. It was just completely different seasons. Quite a grind this year, and our players, just credit them. I mean, they just persevered week after week after week, and were able to win another championship.
There was a time, it's hard to believe now, there was a time when your team was under 500 this year, and there were times I wondered, is the focus of this bunch, this veteran bunch, so much on the league that, not that they weren't trying in some of the non-conference games, obviously they were, almost all those games were really close, but so much was into winning this thing a second straight year, wasn't it?
Well, it really was, and our non-conference schedule was the toughest schedule we have played. By far, yeah. And, it could be the toughest schedule a women's team's ever played here. We start out in the preseason WNIT, and we start at Missouri. And
top 25.
Top 25, and, and then I already had scheduled A&M and Baylor. I mean, it was just a really hard schedule, and we have Lizzie coming off of ACL surgery, so she's trying to get back into the swing of things, and her first game is in the national preseason WNIT, and we go into that without Alexis Mason, our returning leading scorer, and so it took us a month or so to kind of find our identity and to get everybody healthy and incorporate the new players, and and everyone can say that, well, you've got to figure out your new team, but toughest schedule we've ever played non-conference-wise, and I think it served us well to be prepared for just the tough competition we were going to face in conference play.
33-3, your record in the Southland Conference, just astounding the last two seasons, and how fitting that Alexis, who probably was not healthy at any point this year, fully healthy, finishes her regular season career with an ACU record 9 3-pointers against Houston Baptist. That gives her an even 300 for her career. And in the third quarter, she hit 5 of them. You needed her to get hot because that was a close game on Saturday.
We did, and honestly, in the first half, everyone was sort of fulfilling their roles for us except Alexis. Yeah. She was having a hard time scoring. Yeah. And so then when she kind of got back into the groove in the third quarter, it was like, we were hitting on all cylinders, and obviously she really got in a zone, and 7 for 10 from the three-point line in the final 20 minutes of the regular season is pretty stout. But we really needed her to kind of get her game going, and I think what she did just speaks volumes of the confidence she has in herself, and it's all based on just all the hard work she has put in. Not even just since she's been here, but before she even got here, she was putting in tons of work since she's been here. I mean, just thousands and thousands of three-pointers she shot on her own so that she could be our best three-point shooter, and indeed that's who she is.
Well, Alexis was one of 4 honorees by the Southland Conference on Tuesday. Susie Demba named first-team All-Conference. Alexis, the defending player of the year, was second-team All-Conference, an amazing accomplishment given her knee issues. And then Lizzie Demba, off the knee injuries you mentioned, third-team All-Conference. And Susie was named for a 4th consecutive year to the All-Defense team. 4 for 4, that's pretty stout.
Well, it was, yeah. I mean, Susie was the best on defense that she's been this season. And she's been our best defender her whole career here. But this year, she was even better, and she parlayed that with being one of our most consistent scorers this year, too. She led our team in free throw percentage. She led our team for a long time in three-point field goal percentage, and I never thought I would say that about Susie because she's been the one to get offensive rebound putbacks, put the ball on the floor, drive to the basket. Her threes and free throws have been inconsistent, but, again, Susie's made a commitment this year to come in the gym, put in extra time, and, gosh, did it ever pay off for her.
And maybe just a quick note, you as a player appreciate this more than anyone. When you put a player on the other team's best offensive player, most of the time what you see is that player doesn't score a lot because so much of the energy is devoted to shutting down a good player. Well, she was shutting down other teams' best, and she was still scoring. That doesn't happen very often, does it?
Absolutely. I think that is that's a tough role, and about 65% of our conference games, we just stuck Susie on the best three-point shooter on the other team, and that's a tough job. I mean, we tried to limit their touches, limit their open looks, and Susie was successful at that in every game that we ran that style of defense. And like you said, then she's still able to score on the other end. Probably the thing that it took away from her is maybe her rebounding ability a little bit, because she was far away from the basket when shots went up. But other than that, though, I mean, she was just as proficient on the offensive end when she was asked to guard the best player on the other team.
Well, and you can't win every award. Susie was, first team all-conference in all defense. Brianna Wright was not honored, but when you consider she started 27 out of 28 games, second in the league in assist-to-turnover ratio, she certainly could have been an honoree. Now you're in this really interesting position. You were in it last year. You know you can't go to the Southland Conference tournament because this is the final year of the transition to Division I. And so you're having to wait to see what happens with the other teams, not just in this league, but you're looking at other leagues too, aren't you, to see how they finish in certain tournaments?
Well, I told our players yesterday, hey, we are doing the very same thing right now that Baylor's doing, that Texas is doing, that Texas A&M, those teams are doing. They just finished their conference tournament, and they're waiting until Monday as well. And so we're trying to make the most of our time. We're getting tons of shots up. We're doing a lot of skill development. We do put in a little bit of up and down. We're trying to recover this week as well, getting lots of treatments, trying to get people well that are still a little bit sick. So we're trying to utilize the time as best as we can. And this is a kind of a luxury late in the season. You get to focus on yourself. We're not going in to play anybody this weekend in our conference tournament. So we're just focusing on ourselves, trying to stay fine-tuned and just maintain our conditioning right now.
Well, you always talk about controlling the controllables. There are some things that are out of your control. What we know, I think we can say this with certainty, can't we, that if Central Arkansas wins the Southland Conference tournament, the team with whom you shared first place, they would go to the NCAA, your team would go to the WNIT, and if they don't win the Southland tournament, they would get the WNIT first option, and likely you'd go to the WBI. Do you have a preference? I mean, either way, you're going to get to play in a postseason tournament, which is an amazing accomplishment.
No, I have no preference. We're going to go wherever we're invited. We're going to match up with whomever. I don't have a preference. We'll just be really excited on Monday night to get friends and family, fans together in Gym D in our rec center, and we'll be set up in there about 9:45 on Monday night. Mm-hmm. The WNIT and the WBI brackets will come out after the NCAA, and so we'll have refreshments. We're inviting anyone that wants to come hang out and be there with us when it's revealed where we're going for postseason play.
That was fun last year, so it'll be, again, 9:45 or so. You can get there 9:15, 9:30 if you want to. Gym D of the Student Rec and Wellness Center, the Money Student Rec and Wellness Center here on the ACU campus, and find out where ACU will go dancing here in either the WNIT or the WBI. For Coach Julie Goodenough, I'm Grant Boone.